Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cooper, and today I'm joined alongside three other Wolves super fans. We'll start with Dave himself. Dave, how you feeling, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, good, thanks. Other than the football, which seems to be something that I say quite often at the moment, but I'm keeping well, thank you, mate.
That's good, mate. You been up to anything apart from pulling your hair out over?
Literally.
I think since the last time I was on the podcast, mate, your appearance on the Overlap has been broadcast far and wide. Yeah. And I think you said something about Mateus Cunha being one of the best players in the league. He really
like a
showed that
genius
the
up until
weekend.
Saturday.
Yeah, absolute.
And then I put him in my FPL because I thought if I don't do it, I'm going to be left behind here. And I did put a tweet out saying, you know, if he doesn't score again for a while, you know why. So I had a little bit of stick for that when he dropped a generational stinker on Saturday. But other than that, keep it busy. Just count down to Christmas now. To be fair,
count down to Christmas. But more importantly for you, Dave, the darts.
Yeah, exactly. 15th December, mate. A couple of weeks away.
Are you going to Ali Palo?
Nah. Well, I'm not planning to, but saying that, the Wolverhampton, I bought tickets like 2 days before and I just rocked up there. So
I have had a look and there's no tickets left.
No, there never is. You have to buy them on resale. Even the Wolverhampton ones, I got on resale a table seat for about 40 quid, which is all right. So near the front. So yeah, you'd have to get them on resale, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have a look, see how the tournament shapes up and see what I'm doing over Christmas.
Absolutely. Joe Parker from Concept Scouting. How's things, mate? We've got a new microphone as well, so hopefully things are a little bit more seamless.
It's not that new anymore, actually, because some of us bothered to do the podcast last week, didn't we?
When you're working two jobs, mate, sometimes things get in the way.
No, it's all good, mate. All good. Still, I'm sure we'll chew the fat in a minute, but I've had better days.
What you call me? Did you go to the boxing on Saturday night? You fired Woods?
I did. Yeah, I did. I went over after the game. It was a late decision actually because one of the lads had a spare ticket, so we went over there. Got on the train at Wolves. The train got stopped just before New Street, so we had to sit there for 45 minutes, and then we had to get a cab from New Street to International, and then walk up to. It was just painful. So I actually left before the Edwards fight because I just had enough. Like I said to you yesterday, I think it was just proper. I assume you lads have been to the boxing at one of them kind of events. Yep. It's just proper sketchy, man. So it was not good.
The best fights usually happen in the crowd, don't they?
Yeah, mate. Even like going through the door, like the obviously like dogs checking you, fair enough. But there's like people kicking off at the old bill as you go in. There's people even like for a beer. I think we paid about 23 quid for 2 beers. It was ridiculous. So
Jesus.
It was just I'm one of them people. If I don't want to be somewhere, I will literally just go. So I said to Aid, I said I'm doing one. So literally got an Uber back, which was nice to remember yesterday morning when I checked my bank the next day, which was fun.
How much was it? How much was your Uber back?
65.
Fucking hell! What an expensive Uber.
Do you know what though? I'll do it again.
Yeah, I'm the same though. If I don't want to be somewhere, I just won't go. That's probably why I've been to Molineux twice this season. I do not want to go. I had to watch the boxing on my phone. I went up to town at a last minute decision to go to the German market, and then went up to town because I thought somewhere we'll be showing the boxing, even though it was on DAZN. So I went to Box, which is dubbed the best sports bar in Birmingham.
We went there anyway.
Yeah, no sport on.
No, so not at all in there.
No sport on at all. I know.
They usually have the NFL in there on a Sunday. It usually looks quite good.
They do,
yeah. So I had to go to Spoons and watch it on my phone in the beer garden, but thankfully the weather weren't too bad, so I got my big coat on and watched it. I backed your fight knockout as well. I know it's not a boxing podcast, but
to be fair, I was more interested in the Conor Walker fight, obviously with the Wolverhampton connection, and he was excellent, to be fair. So full of obviously there's a lot of people on the train from Wolves up to Brum trying to get to the fight, so it was all right for that. But other than that, mate, all good.
I was going to go last minute, but is it AXS who sell the tickets? Oh, yeah. The tickets were still like full price, even though the event had started, and you could still buy them. I was like, I don't feel like I should pay full price for. I'm only going to see like 75%. Of the event.
I reckon it was half full. It wasn't anywhere near being full.
Yeah, I think they are going to try and do more boxing in Birmingham, which would be good, and you should do more in Wolverhampton, the Civic or something. But there are a few local fighters coming through now who might be able to in future sell out an arena or at least sell out the Civic. But I wish I could talk more boxing, if I'm totally honest, because that's a sport I actually enjoy watching at the minute.
Talking boxing spin-off.
Talking boxing, yeah. Get the franchise going. Jord, how are you, son? Sorry it's took me a while to get to you.
No, it's fine, mate. No, I'm all good. Yeah, watch the boxing at home, watch the football at home, turn the football off very quickly. No, I'll be honest with you. When the third goal went in, I just went and walked the dog. I thought, I can't be dealing with this. So I went and walked the dog, and then I got back in, stuck on my stream. Strand Larson scored. I was like, right, we're back in this, and then capitulated again. I'm like, I don't know why I fucking bother, to be honest with you. So, I went and played golf in the morning. Had a nice day until 3 p.m, which tends to be the way it goes at the minute, being a Wolves fan. Usually, at least.
I was working pretty much all of Saturday, so I had to catch the game on the stream while I was working on my laptop. But Dave, I come into this game with, I'm not quite sure why, a bit of renewed hope that we may have shown signs that we could potentially be turning a corner. Unchanged from the Fulham game. If I'm totally honest, I think if he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, if he changes the team. If he changes the team and lose, people are going to say he should have changed. If he doesn't change the team and we lose like we did it, you shouldn't have changed it. So I cut him a bit of slack for that. But, I mean, you set the stall out after 56 seconds, didn't we, Dave?
Yeah.
Totti Gomez, Levi Jeans, man of the match.
No, I think you banged on with the lineup, because we had a discussion about that last week on the podcast, and I think we sort of had that similar conversation. I think a lot of people sort of would have agreed. No, I said fair play. I think it would have been unfair to drop any of the players after the performance against Fulham, but it was just how he knew how Bournemouth were going to play. He said it on the pre-match press conference, which I mentioned on my review, on my preview. He kept saying how direct Bournemouth were, and you saw that straight away. Ball over the top. They couldn't cope with it. The striker gets the better of Totti, and I don't know why he's dived in there, to be honest. Gets nowhere near the ball, and, like you said, when you're giving away penalties 60 seconds into the game, you're just giving yourself a mountain to climb from minute one. But for any football club to concede one penalty in a game, it's bad enough. But to concede three, it's just absolutely laughable. Stonewall. Every single one was Stonewall for me as well. Yeah,
I thought the same as well. Usually you don't. You see it kind of deliberated on Facebook or Twitter saying, like, how's he given that? But I think most Wolves fans could see that they were all Stonewall penalties, but more frustratingly is just they were all just stupid errors that just it could be avoided.
The second one probably caused the most debate, and especially around me in the South Bank, there were a lot of people going ballistic, singing FVAR, booing the referee and stuff. And I'm looking at it, I think that it's a stone. Even when I was sort of behind it in the South Bank, so part of me thinks, okay, fair enough. You probably think Jose Sar's played the ball, but he's gone down. Ivan Nielsen, and for me, if he's kicked the back of his leg, it's a Stonewall penalty, and I don't get. And then when it came up on the screen, people were going mad again. It's Stonewall every day of the week. So,
I saw someone argue he's ran from behind Sar. He can't see him. It shouldn't be a penalty. I was like, well,
I said to my friend after the game, I said, if João Gomez ran behind someone and got kicked, it doesn't matter. He's kicked the back of his leg. It doesn't matter. That's just crap awareness from whoever loses the ball. And I think the second one, the second one, Totti's pass to Sar wasn't particularly, brilliant. And the frustrating thing is, everybody knows, every single Wolves fan, every single member of staff, and every single player on that pitch knows that Sar is shit with the ball at his feet. And we've managed to avoid defeat over the last few weeks because we avoided putting him under too much pressure on the ball. And for whatever reason, on Saturday, every opportunity, we kept pinging the ball back to him. Like the third one as well, which I'm sure we'll come on to. For a player and a defender as experienced as Dawson to ping that back to him there, again, with almost like no awareness of what's going on around him, it's pathetic. Really, really poor that we handed them that. And, Bournemouth, to be fair, on the day, I didn't think they were that brilliant. I didn't think they were crap. There were a few people on the fans who thought Bournemouth were rubbish, but, some of the passages of play, their set pieces, they knew what they were doing, very well drilled side. But Wolves made it just far too easy for them on Saturday.
I think anything from like the middle to the final third, they looked really well drilled. I think defensively they were probably there to be got at.
We didn't test them enough defensively, to be honest. So other than the two goals, can't really remember us threatening them too much, to be completely honest.
You can tell they are a well-drilled side, but they obviously run a lot. They press ever so effectively, Joe, but all the things that they did and did well, Gary O'Neill cited that in his pre-match press conference on Friday. So Gary O'Neill's aware of it. Do you think that not enough's been done on the training pitch and the players just haven't understood what he's trying to do, or do you think the players have got too emotional, shit themselves again, and we've ended up chucking a towel in?
I think he probably runs a little bit deeper than that. I think if you look at the first goal, it's a really obvious ball to deal with. It is direct, and obviously we know that's how they're going to play, at least to kick the game off and kind of go play in that way. But watching the goal back, watching the incident back before the penalty, the ball comes over the top, and Lemina's the one that should be tracking Evan Nilsson. He's with him, and then he lets him go, and then so Lemina suddenly decides to become passive in the move. And to be fair to Totti Gomez, he's absolutely bollocks when the ball's near him, but he's tried to become active to deal with the situation. He's dealt with it wrong, fair enough. There's no need to get to ground. Everyone knows that. But the problem there is with Lemina, the fact that he's not a centre back. Lemina's used to having to be fair, not necessarily passive, but he's used to being able to having a little bit more space to make decisions. That decision there, he has to take control of it. He's a senior player in the two, whether he's a centre back or not. He's a captain in the team. He's got to deal with it. So he's either got to fuck the ball off or fuck Evan Nilsson off outside the box, one or the other. So the fact that he lets that happen, I think Totti Gomez is in a situation where he doesn't need to go to ground. He can see Evan Nilsson out. He's not in a particularly dangerous position. So you'd back him to make a save where, in that situation. So I'm not sure what either of them are doing, but I think that's part of the problem where tactically or in terms of the team selection, I think most people would have said, okay, follow the team through from last week, kind of keep it the same until you lose, which to be fair, I'm on board with. But I think that those kind of little decisions where Lemina can just deal with it himself. I think on the second goal, Christie does really well in the build-up with Evan Nilsson. But if you watch Lemina, he's gone with Evan Nilsson, tracked him all the way across the pitch and about 20 yards ahead, left a gap in behind, 1-2, around the corner, bosh, job done. So I think tactically, I'm not saying Lemina's to blame for both goals, but he's definitely a key part of it. And as a senior player in the team, he's got to be doing better than that. It's just that's fundamentally not good enough for me. And I'm not a Mario Lemina hater at all.
Yeah, I think you see the best and worst of Mario Lemina in two games. I think at the weekend, from what I watched, almost felt a little bit like just lost the plot a bit. Would just chase after the ball, get pulled out of position, and Bournemouth exploited that so many times over.
They did, and the other side of it is, I think with Bellegarde playing that position, kind of in front of Semedo, kind of not, kind of narrower. As you watch Kirkes on the overlap coming for about 60 yards. He's coming for we could see him sitting in the same, but you could see him making a run, but no one's following him. So when you play this kind of half-arsed hybrid system with full-backs and wing-backs who are not really sure what we're doing, it creates that confusion of who tracks that runner. Now, I'm not saying to go traditional 4-4-2 at all, but if you've got a left-back that's making an overlap on your own full-back, as a right midfielder, you go with him. Whereas Bellegarde's come narrow, presumably to try and protect in some way, but it just looks so disjointed. We said it before, in the final third and in the transition going forward, we look really good. The transition looks brilliant. Whereas as soon as we've got a team running at us, we don't look like we know what we're doing structurally, I don't think, and that's been the case since the start of the season.
I also think as well that I'm not the biggest fan of Bellegarde. I don't think he's as bad as some people make out. But the argument that is advanced on people who say he's in the team is because his defensive work rate. But it was exactly the same at Fulham. Those wide areas, like the 1-2s, and he's just completely caught out. And Semedo's having to do everything on his own. It's happened a few times this season, so I'm not entirely convinced that, he's better in possession, but defensively in terms of that side of his game, that he's adept to be able to play that role. But Jord, from the performance, what were your kind of overarching takeouts from it? I don't want to dwell on things too much because it was an absolutely hideous performance. But
yeah, I think there's a few things for me. I think Jose saw the reason why we signed Sam Johnson and where there's been question marks over why we signed a goalkeeper, let alone it being Sam Johnson. I think Jose Sarr reminded us why that happened in the summer because he has these brain farts in games. And again, I'm not his biggest fan. I've said this many times. I think he's a good shot stopper, but he makes way too many individual errors for me. Brain farts, whatever you want to call them. He's too erratic, he's too emotional, and he'll cost you 4, 5, 6 penalties a season. It feels like for me where he's just making bad decisions. Now, I think you can definitely argue that he wasn't out with the ball by Dawson and Totti, in all fairness, for both the penalties, but he can make a better decision at that time. I think the Totti one is taken too long on the ball. And he can't see Evan Nilsson coming from the side of him, to be fair to him, but still, just fuck it off. You don't want it. Just put it out for a throw-in. You can obviously sense someone there. The Dawson one, you can see Evan Nilsson running onto you. So just make a better decision. Just make a better decision in that instance. Stand your ground. Do whatever you got to do. Don't lead him with your foot and go and just clatter him. I think some of my thoughts. I think there's a reason why Bournemouth got rid of Gary O'Neill for Iraola. That's because he's a far better coach than Gary O'Neill. I think O'Neill got schooled on the weekend. I thought there was I know people saying Bournemouth weren't great. I thought they were far better coached than we were. They were well drilled. They knew what they were doing. Some of the moves in that final third, can't tell me they're not structured. Like you say, Kirke's flying down. They're exploiting our weaknesses. Going a little bit on what you said, Joe, about Lamina, I think he made that error in the first minute. And for me, then, he's a very emotional person, a very emotional player. I think then he tried to do too much, tried to, rectify his mistake, and he kept getting pulled out of position a lot, and just he was all over the shop. And he's not a centre half. It worked at Fulham because it was needs must. And I sympathise a little bit with Gary O'Neill because I would have probably done what Gary O'Neill done. You know what? You've won 4-1 away at Fulham. We might have luckily found a balance in midfield. We've got to go with it again, just because you can't change a winning team. And I know people will argue that that's a bit naive, but I fully supported the same team. But you could see after 15 minutes it wasn't working. There's a couple of times where Evan Nilsson just ran off Lamina. In terms of it could have scored a couple. I think there's a ball across the box, wasn't there? And Evan Nilsson stabbed at it. And I think, we got away with it against Fulham, but Lamina didn't look like a centre-half, which he isn't. He could tell that was a big problem. So there's a lot to fix before Wednesday. I don't know what you do. I think he's going to shut up shop. We're going to go to a back five and just try and be stodgy as fuck, considering Semedo's out as well. I think he's just going to get Doherty in there, line up with a back three, and just try and get a point and get out of there.
I think blaming Sarr or partly blaming Sarr for the third one's a bit harsh. I think it's just an awful pass back from Dawson, and he's a bit flat-footed, granted, but I don't think there's really much he can do there. I think the second one is Sarr's fault. But I tweeted, as much as people think Sarr is this middle of the road goalkeeper, you are going to get this performance every 5 to 6 games, no matter who they've brought in to try and give him competition. It always seems to happen. I want to get your lads' thoughts on the incident at half-time. Obviously, I wasn't in the ground, so I've only seen clips from social media. Dave, you were in the South Bank. But for those who aren't aware, half-time goes and Sarr has an altercation with a fan in the South Bank. Looks very animated. The stewards pull the fan out and take him out the stadium. The rumours are that he was on at Lamina and Sarr all game, and Sarr had lost the plot and decided to have a go. Dave, what's your thoughts on that?
I think Joe may have been a little bit closer if he was there as well, so he might know. And I've seen a few comments on social media about people who are a lot closer than me, but it was even before the halftime whistle. You know when something's happening on the other side of the stand, then everyone just starts looking and trying to find out what's going on, and that's what I just saw a lot of people trying to look towards that direction and didn't really understand what was going on. And then obviously saw Sarr when the half-time whistle went, turned around, had his gloves off and mouthing off at this fan. Two blokes got kicked out in the end. But apparently it's because they're being... I think everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think, but there is a line, and apparently they were crossing that line quite considerably in regards to what they were saying about Lamina and about Sarr, and I think a lot of people around them then kicked off as well. So the two blokes are rejected, and other than that, that's sort of what I said.
I think a lot of it,
that's what I saw.
Because I'd kind of wandered up to the bar because we've found a bar in the South Bank that does Guinness on draft. So I'd kind of, by the time it hit 3-1, we may have moved up to the bar by that point. But the lad who it was, everyone will be familiar with the lads who wear the wrestling masks in the South Bank, and
Tim.
they are gobby at the best of times. But I think the aftermath of it was lads in the South Bank around them kicking back off at them in terms of, what are you doing? And there was people clapping Sarr and all that kind of stuff, which I don't think you can ever really judge Jose Sarr like you would judge any other normal person, because he's obviously, there's something to a degree missing there. But it's a little bit. I've never understood bollocking your own players. I've never got it. Like, especially during the game, if you've had if you got dicked at home, and I know we were terrible on Saturday, but there was a bit of fight there, trying to get back in the game, and there was some momentum until we gave the third penalty away. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff personally. After the whistle, do whatever you want to do, but half time in a game, you're only 3-1 down against Bournemouth. There was every chance that we could have. It's fairly pathetic, but we're not losing 5-0, are we? So it's all a bit sad.
I've given players sick for the throwaway comment, which I get that, and I think that's fair game. But to sustain it for 45 minutes feels like it's a little bit more personal than your wank. Sort it out.
There was a lot of that throughout the whole night. Being in the South Bank, you get it anywhere in the ground. To be fair, I don't know why I'm just pinpointing that, but there are some comments you think, have you just really said that? Or like I say, if Sarr makes a mistake, you go, for fuck's sake, Sarr. But you don't go at him for another 20 minutes, half an hour throughout the game. It doesn't make sense. But then Bournemouth fans in the second half chanting, Gary, what's the score? And then half the South Bank by me were chanting it as well. And I sort of looked around and I was just shaking my head. I was like, fucking hell, like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we?
The problem is, though, with that as well, Dave, and again, I wasn't there, but I saw it, and I was just laughing because I'm like, a few weeks ago, there'd be the same fuckers that had been cheering him, doing a fist bump after his first win in fucking 9 years.
This is
it's so fickle. This is what I hate.
This is the thing. Our fan base, and I know you say, Dave, it's the old stadium, but sitting in the South Bank, there are more morons in that stand, because a lot of them sit round by me, than there are anywhere else. And there was a group of first responders that ran past, you might remember, in the first half. They ran up to go up towards the uncovered quadrant bit, right?
Yeah.
And there was people taking the piss saying, hurry up. And they were first responders. They weren't ambulance. It was obviously kicking off somewhere. And they've come running past, and a few lads ran by. They were like laughing. And there's people kicking off at them for laughing. Someone could have had a heart attack. What the fuck are you doing? And it's like, fuck me. Like, do you socially fall apart when your team goes 3-1 down? Like, get a grip, man. So I think the abuse of Sarr, it must have been fairly severe. I think it's odd that he's not come back out and said anything on social media either. Knowing him, I thought he might have posted something.
Probably been advised.
I wonder what the club's stance will be on it, though, because will they get a suspension or banned from the stadium? But like, on what grounds?
It depends what's been said, isn't it? And I think that's the context of, like you say, I think it's all well and good to say, fuck me, Totti, what you doing, or fuck me, Sarr, like fucking shit. But then it stays there.
Even get over it.
But if it's sustained, or because I saw a comment saying he called him a Portuguese something apparently, and it's like, well, again, very loosely, if that is, and again, not to want to slander what's been said, we don't know, but like that could be grounds of racism, whatever the club want to do.
Isn't it, more
xenophobic, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, Matt. Thanks.
That's all right, mate.
So, like, in theory, like, you could lose your season ticket or your ticket for it, but
that'll be a 5-game ban. That will all day long.
I'll be saying, can you increase it, please?
Yeah. How awkward's it going to be when he rocks back up? Especially if he's kicking off around with people around him.
I just don't think it's a great look from. So I don't think I'd respond in that way if I was him. I'd probably go even worse. But you could see how animated it was. It wasn't just a shut your mouth. He was there to throw fists, weren't he? He weren't.
Neil Cutler had to pull him away in the end.
Yeah. It makes me think it's got to be. They've got to cross the line with something personable. Yeah. Like, it's got to be. But we don't know.
I saw something on Facebook, which obviously means it's true, that that he'd said something. You all fucking speak Portuguese. Why don't you learn to fucking pass to someone Portuguese? Something like that. Something along those lines, allegedly. But
bearing in mind that this bloke who was saying it is a good 22 stone lad who wears a wrestling mask to the football. So maybe not the man to give that instruction.
Yeah, I just don't. It's not a great look, regardless of what's been said or whatnot. It's not something you want to see happening when you're already up against it in a relegation dogfight and you're 2-1, or was it 3-1 by then, or 2-1?
It was 3-1 at that point. But to be fair, when the stewards pulled them out, everyone was booing the people that got pulled out. I looked towards the Steve Bull there, where there's a bloke stood up going, "Fuck off, fucking support the team." So I was like, "Fairs." So I think everyone sort of knew why they'd been kicked out. So
you boys carry on. I've swallowed. Apologies. You boys talk amongst yourselves.
Should we talk some more about this Guinness bar?
Yeah. Where is that?
Well,
Is that in the
as you go in, where you go down to SL1, in between SL1 and SL2, it used to be the bookies.
Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks ago, turn around thinking, there's someone queuing at the bookies. Turn around, there's just one woman on her own with nothing else other than a Guinness tap. So we'll have 4 Guinness, 25 quid.
Yeah.
Worth every
Everyone's going to be there now listening to this podcast, mate. You've given away the secret now.
You're forgetting I go with age. It's hard enough to get a pint at the best of times.
Yeah.
I'm back in the room now. Well, that was very pleasant. Yeah, I just don't think it's a great look. Regardless, from watching it on telly, it felt to me like a stadium that had almost just given up. Because, I mean, I don't know how it felt like you were there, but all you could hear was Bournemouth fans. You looked around and the stadium's half empty. No one seems to give a fuck. The players are just flying into tackles the last 10 minutes because that's what they do. It just looked like the writing's on the wall. Yeah. For me, the writing's been on the wall for a couple of months now at least.
The atmosphere was. I mean, again, it doesn't help when your team's not playing particularly brilliantly, or when you can see an early goal. But the atmosphere was flat, very flat on Saturday, I think, and we saw a hell of a lot of negativity again on social media, which I think is warranted after such a poor performance. To be honest, puts a hell of a lot of pressure on Gary O'Neill this week, I think, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but. I think there were still okay elements of our game. I think, Strand Larsen has picked up a few stray bullets over the last couple of weeks. I think if you look at in terms of his numbers, for a number 9 to be produced in the sort of goal or goal contribution rate that he's been giving us, it's something that Wolves fans have been screaming out for 18 plus months or 2 years. So, now he's backing it up. Another 2 goals on Saturday. I think I read a stat. It might be incorrect as of yesterday. The most non-penalty goals out of any Premier League player since the start of October. He's performing, and again, there's still people that I think being quite disrespectful towards him and what he's brought to the team so far.
I think because he doesn't hold every single ball up, that fans automatically assume he's shit. Well, name me a centre forward that does.
Yeah, we're not been used to seeing anyone play like that for a long, long time.
Not even Raul really played like that.
No,
not to the amount that we do it, but I think as a poacher, he's one of the
goal. Give him chances. I'd love to see his sort of ratio in terms of clear-cut chances or shots on goal to
his
goals.
Conversion rate's right up there. I think that's part of the thing. I think people were expecting, a lot of people who hadn't watched him before were expecting that we were getting this old school number 9 target man Chris Wood type player, whereas. It kind of defies the way he looks in the way that he plays. Besides getting on the end of crosses like that cross at the first goal on Saturday, that's a target man's finish, isn't it? But that's not really his game. And I think a lot of I don't want to say the older generation of fans, but that kind of group of fans are probably expecting something different to what we're actually getting. And I think when you watch what he does off the ball, and we're always better, Cunha's always better and more exposed to the ball, when Strand Larsen's occupying other people. And I think, in fairness, on Saturday, it's an odd one considering he got 2 goals. But Bournemouth, actually, I thought defended Strand Larsen fairly well, which which kind of didn't free Cunha up. They were just good man to man. So offensively, I don't think we were that good on Saturday, which is odd because we scored 2 goals. But I think Strand Larsen, I said this on, I think last week, I think he'll get 15 goals this season. Genuinely, I think he will.
Even when he doesn't seem to be in games affecting it that much, and he needs to work on his fitness, but he always seems to get a goal or at least be involved in the build-up to a goal. So it's a sign of a decent player when with the eye test he doesn't look like he's involved, but he's still affecting games. But the bigger picture, Jord, I know when I asked you about the game, it took you about 15 seconds to talk about Gary O'Neill, so I think I know what you're going to say with this. I know you don't need an invite, but it can't get any worse, can it?
It can. No, I was going to, before, I think I was looking at social media on Saturday night and then even looking at, certain threads and conversations and stuff. And I think, even watching it watching the game on the stream and stuff, like, I'm actually a bit sad, to be honest with you, about Wolves in general at the moment. Like, I know it's been coming for a little bit of time and we all know there's a lot of problems here, but I just feel like it's like the stuffing's been beaten out of everyone. Like, I don't think people are that arsed anymore. No. Like, you're seeing it on social media. It's more so the tweets defending, like, blindly that we're going to stay up and we'll turn it round with Gary O'Neill. What basis? Like, what basis or grounds have we got that Gary O'Neill's going to turn this round for Wolves? I know we just come off we were unbeaten in 4 before this defeat, but, like, I think he's just not up to it. He's not up to it. Like, Fosen have basically said, if you want to follow a successful club, watch someone else. Like, I think fans are, like, almost moving to that mentality now of, well, yeah, that we will. Like, basically, Fosen are almost, like, pushing their agenda on fans. And I think fans are sort of saying, we are plucky old Wolves. We should struggle and we should be this, we should be that. Like, 5 years ago, we're in Europe and we're doing all this stuff. And I know football changes and it's never moving piece, but I'm just so disappointed. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome that we're being told to think one way. And if you sort of want to criticise the club or you want to criticise the manager or the style of play, oh, well, fucking social media, man. Fucking, it's like, no, like, we're better than this. Why should we accept mediocrity? Why should you? Like, people are spending, and I haven't got a season ticket. Well, I have, but I don't go. Someone else goes. But it's like, people are paying the best part, 700, 800, 900 quid a season for a season ticket. They're getting served up that dross every week. And, like, meant to be, it's fine, it's okay. Bollocks to it. Why are we challenging it? Why are we just accepting being like this run-of-the-mill Premier League side? Like, Bournemouth come on the weekend, outcoached us, outplayed us in every department, in my opinion. And you can't tell me, looking at Bournemouth's team in our 11, that there'd be more Wolves players than Bournemouth players in 11 on paper. And every now and again, I keep seeing Aitnery's quality, Semedo's quality. We've got these great midfielders. Like, we're a great football team. We're in a false position. Are we? Like, and again, I'm one that's been saying we're in a false position. Actually, are we? Because we keep making the same fucking dipshit mistakes. We keep losing football games and finding ways to lose football games. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, let's stop settling for mediocrity and just call it as it is. Like, because it carries on the same way it's going right now. We're going down 100%. And this agenda that, well, there's 3 teams worse than us. Well, I think Southampton are worse than us. I couldn't confidently tell you Leicester or Ipswich are worse than us right now. I don't know what anyone else thinks about that, but that's just what I've got to get off my chest, really, because I'm sort of sick of just accepting mediocrity and it being okay.
Yeah, the price of the season ticket doesn't even, well, probably because I'm not going, doesn't even register with me now. I could be paying 30 quid a season for this, and I think it's wank. It doesn't even register that I pay best part of 750 quid to be served with this absolute dross of a manager whose time is up for me.
I think, Matt, as well, that kind of a key point to that when it comes to the manager. We talked there about Strand Larsen, about how good he is, and the conversion rate on his stats. We've got 2 players in the top 4 in the league for overperformance on XG. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but Cunha's 3.8 over his XG, and Strand Larsen is 3.1. So there's 7 or 8 XG there that we have scored through those 2 players that we probably shouldn't have. So if you take those 7 or 8 goals out of the equation, where would we be? And that's from a team that looked good going forward, but we're not creating a shitload of really clear-cut chances. We've just got 2 players in the final third that convert really well. So that generally over a season tends to level off. So with Gary O'Neill, we get relegated. Without Gary O'Neill, with a better manager, we don't. I think it's as simple as that. And I know people don't want to hear that because a lot of people want to be contrarian onto it because you get more attention by being different to the rest. But universally, every single human I saw in the stadium on Saturday wants him gone. So they're obviously keeping hold of him. They want to keep hold of him. They don't want to pay the money. If he was going to go, he'd have gone, wouldn't they? You would presume.
I think we're in a bit of a tricky situation here where over the next, I reckon, 3 weeks, we could see 3 or 4 managers get the chop, which means, Potter could be taken, David Moyes could be taken, Rob Edwards might be out of a job, manager of the year contender. I just think we could get left behind if we don't make a decision.
I don't know, because a lot of it will come down to this week, I think. You lose on Wednesday to Everton. They gain 3 points on you. I think he's in a very difficult position. Besides Law, he just keeps clinging on to his job. But I think I had a few people message me on Saturday and say he's got to go. And I said he won't because this is his first loss in 5 ultimately. And I think he's very lucky that results didn't go our way as such, but other teams didn't gain any ground on us over the weekend. But these next 4 games before Christmas, every single one of the teams in and around us by a couple of places. He had, West Ham obviously a little bit higher up, sorry, but the rest, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich and Leicester. If we're not 7 to 9 points at least better off than where we are now, he's got to go. But then you go in, you bring in a new manager before Christmas, and their run of games is extremely difficult. So I think this week's massive. I think that genuinely this time next week we do a podcast, we could be talking about a different manager in charge. Obviously, I want us to win every football game, but Wednesday I think is absolutely massive for Gary O'Neill. It's the El Sakiko probably because him and Dyche are in a difficult position, both of them really.
Yeah, I just think for me though, like Leicester have got rid of Cooper. And then we've dodged a bullet that they've gone for Ruud van Nistelrooy, in my opinion, in terms of that it still leaves Potter and Moyes there as the 2 standouts. I know people keep saying Collins and Sow. Let's add him in the mix as well. But like you say, West Ham get rid of Lopetegui, which could happen quite easily. They won't go back to Moyes, but then Conte, Sow and Potter are there. 2 of the 3 they'll probably go at. Everton probably go at. They could go for all of them, to be honest with you. Moyes might want to, like the Swan song, go back there. Like, we need to make a decision on it because you are right in what you're saying. Like we don't pick up a win in the next 2. It's unfair on bringing a new manager at this period because the games come that thick and fast. He's basically playing with Gary O'Neill's team. You're playing a game every other fucking day. So what's he going to do on the training ground?
I think as well,
they should have made the decision a couple of weeks ago.
100%. I think part of that's going to be with January looming as well. They'll be well on with their recruitment for January now. They'll be steaming ahead. They'll be in negotiations for players that Gary O'Neill wants and Gary O'Neill has signed off. So the problem will be if we push this on further into December, we're going to be in the same old Wolves position of midway through a transfer window. We've done nothing. We've signed 3 players. Besides that window in 2023 that was decent in January, we have a shocker every single year in January. It's always shot. So if he goes in the next month, which I think, if I was a betting man, I'd say he will. I don't think he'll see the month out because we're just not playing particularly well. We said last week, I think universally, the 3 of us said last week that we didn't necessarily deserve to win that game 4-1. So that's very much an outlier to me. Even when you look at those games, the Palace game at home, we were crap. We were crap against Brighton. We just managed to pull it out of our arse in the last 10 minutes. Southampton, they have that goal disallowed. If they don't, we could be looking at something completely different. So I just think me and Matt have had this conversation loads of times. He should have gone after the Villa game, and we'd be in a much better position now, I think. And we'd be heading into January looking at some decent recruitment. Whereas I think now players who are going to be looking at coming to Wolves in January are going to be saying, "This is a big risk for me." unless it's a loan, there's going to be a big risk signing for Wolves in January, where we currently are.
I think the names that you guys have mentioned, like I've sort of raised. I think Conceição's a good manager. I've raised my concerns about him in the past, but ultimately, he's had more success than Gary O'Neill. I have no doubt Potter and Moyes are better coaches than Gary O'Neill. So I wouldn't turn my nose up at any of the three, to be honest. And I've sort of maybe not spoken about it as much as I should have over the last couple of weeks on videos and stuff, because I think to be fair to the club, fair play for sticking with him and fair play for being loyal, but ultimately we're not making massive strides up the table, and this is the period now. We dropped points against Palace, we lost against Bournemouth. These next two I think are absolutely massive for him, and it'd be sod's law. Sod's law. He loses Wednesday. They bring in Moyes, and his first game's against West Ham away or something like that. But I don't know. I think the Everton game is massive, absolutely massive for him.
Do you think he might take the West Ham game? I don't think they'll sack him if they lose Everton.
I think in terms of timing, they probably will, because I don't think they'd sack him after a midweek game and give themselves such a short period. I think they'll probably give him the Everton game. He play poorly or lose. You say, look, you got one game to save your job. So I think you're right. You got a bit more breathing space to bring in a new manager.
It would be funny though, given Gary O'Neill's comments at the start of last season about how unfit the team was that he picked, if Lopetegui's the man that seals the deal to sack him. That would be funny.
It would be peak Wolves as well, though, wouldn't it? Lopetegui would do the final nail. But to be fair to him, though, as well, to Gary O'Neill, if he's being consistent, we're probably not going to, we probably won't win the next two because Bet365 will
have us. That's very true.
So what we meant to, maybe it's unfair to sack him, but he should have fucking gone and beat Bournemouth when he was even money at home then, shouldn't he? Yeah. Twat.
As well, on Bournemouth, by the way, they were missing Semenyo and they were missing Cook, weren't they? Their two best players. So how much worse would it have been?
I think it shows as well, if Cunha's having an off day, then we're fucked.
Yep.
We said this before, Matt, haven't we?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, we said this before. The tactic is give the ball to Cunha in between the midfield and the defenders and just pray. Let him drive up the pitch and pray. That seems to be the tactic.
And I think he takes it upon himself to play hero ball. And there was a few occasions where he picked the ball up and you could have played someone in who he just want to take it past players, because maybe he's brimming with confidence, but it is just the case at the minute of give it to Cunha and see what he can do. So God forbid if he gets in. And you could say that for Barcelona with Messi, give it to Messi and see what he can do. But I just think it's time up now. Like, it hasn't worked. It worked for a few months. I think it's now time for a change. What do you lads think of the fact that the players are still brought in, maybe that he could be too pally with them or easy with them? Do you think that could be a case?
It's hard to say. Obviously, that he has there's a lot of players that seem to have a lot of time for him inside of him. I think Cunha is one. Lamina's another one that speaks about it quite often. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's hard to say.
I think part of it, Dave, the players that are playing every week, the Laminas, the Cunhas, the Joe Gomez's, of course they're going to love Gary O'Neill. But when you look at how disbanded parts of that squad look, if you look at, so many people slagging Guedes off on Saturday, despite the fact that he came on, assisted a goal, and he didn't whip his cock out and start celebrating with it. There's a lot of players in that squad who, if you sat Gary O'Neill today, they'd be over the moon. So that for me is more of an endorsement of the manager when the players that aren't playing. If you've got a squad of players who look behind the manager, which I don't think we have, I think we've got a first 11 of players who are behind the manager. Even if you're someone like Santi Bueno, who probably should, in hindsight, have started on Saturday, is he going to think, if a more competent manager comes in, they'll see me as being the better defender in the squad and I'll be playing more games? So I don't think there is necessarily a squad that's behind him. It's hard to quantify, isn't it?
I also think as well that if he does get sacked, the line from journos will be, it was, the relationships that fell apart behind the scenes with key figures and key players. So
you'll get it. It always happens, doesn't it? It'll be an exclusive from John Percy, and it'll be like, he's throwing a fucking kettle at someone's head, and it'll just be you just know it'll all come out. All of a sudden, it's like all these like sunshine and rainbows that we're led to believe is happening at Compton. it'll be like a fucking war zone as soon. It's actually a horrible environment. But you are right what you're saying, Joe. Like the players that have come out verbally backing him. Well, Lemina's been made club captain, never been captain in his life. Could say it's the players that are playing every week. I'd love to know what Sarabia thinks of him, or Guedes, Sam Johnson, even at the moment as well.
Even the likes of
important to be number one.
Carlos Forbes and Rodrigo Gomez. Rodrigo Gomez has come back in. There's every chance now.
Tommy Doyle.
These kind of players. Rodrigo Gomez was poor Saturday, granted, but he's going to be because he's not had a consistent run of minutes, has he? So players like that who think they should be starting, obviously they're not. They've got no God-given right to be starting the game. But you've got to manage your squad, and I do think, particularly last season, we all he did was whinge all season that he didn't have enough players, whereas we still generally had the same players that are sat on the bench now. If you look at Sarabia, towards the back end of the season, he drifted out of the team. If you look at, we've had to build a squad, but this is the time. He can't complain last season that he didn't have a big enough squad and then not use the squad correctly this time, which I think the management to me looks poor.
I know he had a knock against Southampton, but the 2 games Sarabia started, although again he had a frustrating game against Palace, we got positive results out of. We seem to have an upturning form when Tommy Doyle was in the side as well. And neither of those can get a look in and don't even come off the bench on Saturday
Doyle on Saturday would have been a good option in the second half as well, because he was the perfect foil for the midfield that they had. I think someone who can just put his foot on the ball. I actually thought Andre and Joe Gomez did okay, and that they did get us up the pitch quite a bit, especially in the first half when we were down. I felt like they got on the ball a little bit, but we needed somebody who could use the ball with a bit of pace and beyond. You bring Carlos Forbes on, surely you want somebody who can drop a ball in behind, but it just...
was it Hwang that didn't play him in as well? I thought Andre and Gomez at times were sloppy on the ball, to be honest, and I think Forbes was completely wasted. Yeah, you want him to hug the line or whatever, but just did not use that, to our advantage once. It was just, again, I think in the end on Saturday, he chucked every attacker he could really, bar Sarabia, and just thought, let's fucking hope something happens, and it didn't. Thought Gedge did okay for the goal. Yeah. Did work quite hard to play in Strand Larson. I think took that really well, albeit with a deflection. I think how he worked to get the finish away was good, but just the rest of it was just really, really poor. Really poor.
It felt like to me he just kind of lost the plot, and he had Aït-Nouri playing right wing, then all over the place. It just didn't seem like there was any joined up thinking in what was being done.
He had his first choice left back playing centre back again as well.
Yeah, that first half. Yeah, in the first half it was awful, absolutely awful. You probably one of your best attacking outlets in Aït-Nouri from the left hand side, playing as a flat back three.
Yeah,
and then second half he's playing right wing.
Yeah,
it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, is Everton must win or must not lose?
Must win.
Yeah, agreed. Everton is shite.
Not scored 4 games. Scored 1 in 5.
Everton?
Yeah. Not scored for 4 games, and they scored 1 in 5 games ago. So that's going to change Wednesday. They'll bag 4.
Yeah, they'll make up for lost time.
What's their defense? I know they got smashed against United. What's their defensive record been like?
Pretty bad. I think yesterday was their first tanking, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but they hate Dyche, don't they? At the minute, I always say the blueprint for Goodison is keep it steady for 10 minutes, quieten the crowd, and they'll just turn on him. And we've actually got a good record at Goodison, to be fair.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, again, just keep it quiet for 15 minutes. Nothing silly. If it goes back to Jose Sarr, if he's going to be the goalie, I actually think Sam Johnson might start.
I think he might drop Sarr as well. Yeah.
Just no daftness. Just fucking play for the second balls, like we did at Fulham. That's what we said on the pod last week. Like we're just competing for second balls against Fulham. That's why we won the game. Because we were all over them, and then we tried to overplay again on Saturday. I don't fucking get it. I don't. Yeah, mind boggles.
Are you going on Wednesday, Joe?
I've got a ticket.
I am going actually.
Yeah, I've got a ticket. I'm edging towards now, if I'm completely honest with you. But I do think I am always a bit more optimistic with away games. I think the way we set up is always going to be a little bit more conducive to playing away from home. And to be fair, playing against Everton, every time I've been there in the past, all you need is a corner and they suddenly fall apart. So I think similarly to us at home, ironically. So I do think we can get a result up there, but the problem is, like you say, Dave, I want us to win every game that we play, but it's just going to delay the inevitable if we do go and get a result. So I want us to get up the table first, and hopefully we can have the Gary O'Neill conversation later in the season. But I just think, yeah, he can't stay much longer.
Moving on to the questions then, lads, because we've only got 10 minutes or so left. So Amar's Music Show has asked his weekly question. He said, after our form in the second half of last season and the start of this one, if Gary O'Neill stays and manages to keep us up, would you want Ferguson to sack him in the summer regardless?
Yes.
Dave?
Well, if he keeps us up, yeah.
Depends on how we finish, to be honest. I think if you have a really, really strong second half to the season, you probably wouldn't. But it depends. If it's still patchy form and we stay up in like 16th, 17th, I think, yeah, probably move him on. It's easy to say, but like Wolves have had it. Under McCarthy, they should have got rid of him the year before. Bruno Lage probably should have moved him on. You know, you have it quite often. So it depends on the second half of the season form, really. But if we stay up by the scrape of our, on the skin of our teeth, yeah, he probably should go.
DH Wright has asked, how is this affecting the view of Hobbs within the club? O'Neill is definitely his man. DeFoe and trust him as much of a replacement, or do we lurch back to the Mendes carousel? I think they should start looking at Mendes a bit more, because since I come away from it,
it's all gone downhill.
It's all gone pear-shaped, hasn't it?
Full circle.
Yeah.
They still have a good relationship with George Mendes. They decide for some reason they've got probably a very stronger than people realise with George Mendes, but I think they just want to try and rely on themselves, which hasn't quite worked out.
Have they still got shares in Guestifood, Dave?
I think so. Yeah.
So there's always going to be a benefit to you.
Yeah, like Moy Pugh is a George Mendes client, and they helped out a lot with that signing. And obviously, we've still got a lot of his clients still at the club as well. But I don't know. Ultimately, it'll come down to probably what Jeff Shee and Fosun want to do. If they want to rely on George Mendes again, I'm sure they will. But I don't think so much the decision to keep Gary O'Neill on reflects too badly on Matt Hobbs and co. But no. I think a lot of it will come down to the recruitment. I think from the summer and into the January, like you've known for 6 months that you need a centre back. So if it takes you to the 30th of January to bring one in, then I think question marks have got to be raised.
I think it's really easy to pin things on guys like Matt Hobbs who are kind of at the forefront of things, and he's definitely got things wrong, as we have as a club. But at the same time, no one for 18 months or at least for 12 months has been saying that Gary O'Neill was the wrong man for the job. It's only really since the results have turned down at the start of this season that they've thought, right, he needs replacing. But sometimes you've got to make the hard decisions. If you look what Bournemouth did, they sacked him at the end of the season, knowing that they could improve on him. And I think linking those two questions together, would I back Hobbs to find the right man alongside George Mendes? Yeah, I probably would. So I don't think it's as easy as, right, we're doing well, Matt Hobbs is doing brilliantly, or we're doing terribly, Matt Hobbs is doing terribly. Like, I think there's more nuance to it than that.
Yeah, I think the only mistake I'd say, and again, it's obviously a club decision, so again, I'm not pinning this on Matt Hobbs. The biggest mistake they've made collectively so far was giving Gary O'Neill such a big contract extension in the summer. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't think Hobbs is coming away with this scot-free. I've seen quite a bit of stick for him as well, which I think is warranted. With he has to be, really, because he's employed him. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how it can go on. We've got a question here from. Let me just get my mouse again. I'll get the name, but it's how many other Premier League clubs would be happy with. It's Ryan has asked this. How many Premier League clubs would swap their manager for Gary O'Neill right now, seeing as though he's so highly regarded?
Yeah, I don't think any would.
Palace might say, yeah, they will because of Glasner.
Maybe Southampton, but
yeah.
But you are right, though, Matt. I know you've mentioned this a few times on the pod where he did Monday Night Football. Everyone was like waxing lyrical about him because he's basically put a 2-minute coaching video on there. And look, let's be honest, he didn't do anything that was revolutionary to probably football managers or coaches. He went on there and talked very simply about the game. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was great insight for the average fan. But all of a sudden, everyone was like, yeah, next England manager, yeah, he's great, he's this, whatever. Like, the overlap, it's come up a couple of times on those fan debates, not the one that Dave did the other week, but they're like, yeah, Gary O'Neill's this, he's great, he should be looking for a bigger club. TalkSport have done it a few times. Like,
I
have
think
you
that's
actually looked at their fucking the record itself? Like, he's got a worse win percentage record than Walter fucking Zenga.
He's got the worst win record out of any manager Fosun have employed.
Yeah, it's mad, and yet there is still this agenda from the wide, national media, probably because there's not that many English managers in the Premier League, that he's going to be this big, great success. But you're all right. No one in the Premier League could touch him with a barge pole.
It comes down to performance when you need it. If you look back at the reputation that Lopetegui's got now because of the way it ended, when we needed him to come in and do a job and get results, that run from January to May, besides the away games, we knew whoever we were playing at home, we would win that game. We were beating Liverpool, we were beating big clubs because tactically we'd set up in the right way. And he gets absolute pelters now from the fan base. But Julian Lopetegui is infinitely better manager than Gary O'Neill is. Gary O'Neill is obviously, personally, I think he's a very good coach. And I think tactically his knowledge of the game is very good for a man in his position. But the problem is, I don't think he's a particularly good manager. And that's where there are umpteen coaches across the EFL that are probably just as good at being a coach as Gary O'Neill is, because they understand the game, they understand technical setup. But when it comes down to managing a squad and handling the press and handling the fan base, he's not very good at it. It's fairly evident.
That's like a lot of this. There's so many parallels between his tenure here at the club to Bruno Lage's, because Bruno Lage is very similar, very highly rated as a coach, doing okay, at Benfica now, to be fair, but just seemed to lack the authority, and I think that's something Lopetegui had. That's something Nuno had. So I think if Wolves decide to move Gary O'Neill on, the next manager has got to be someone that can, really get control of these players and say, look, I'm the gaffer, I'm the boss, this is what we're doing. Because at the moment, it just seems to be like that's not the way it's going.
Gary O'Neill should be wearing Bruno Lage pyjamas. That Bruno Lage is an infinitely better coach than Gary O'Neill is. And I do think Gary O'Neill's a decent coach. But the managers and coaches we've let go in the last 5 years, the fact that we're now sat here with Gary O'Neill, who has no CV whatsoever, as a Premier League club, as a club who should be top 12 in the country, have we got one of the top 12 managers?
No.
I do think that he does think his shit don't stink though, doesn't he? It's almost similar to like Lopetegui. I'm way better than this. I'm doing these like fair. They have the cheek to say you don't know what you're doing. Do you know, like, the knowledge that I've got on football? I am the oracle. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Completely agree.
So we shall see. Another question here from Caucasian White. Can we confirm just how bad Ryan Aït-Nouri is? He hasn't been great this season, has he?
I think he's been played. I think he's been played completely wrong role, wrong position, everything. I think he's been, I think he's a hell of a lot better than what he's shown us, but I think a lot of that is down to what instruction he's been put under by the manager.
He's not a bad player. He doesn't turn bad overnight. I don't think he's been that bad because he's got the skill on the ball to get himself out of a lot of these situations. But when we talk about these fucking hybrid left backs and centre backs coming over to left back, I think Aït-Nouri is a player who plays on instinct. He wants the ball at his feet and he'll decide what he wants to do when he gets it. I think he needs to be better off the ball, which as a defender in the Premier League you've got to be. But I do think sometimes, even watching that MNF piece with O'Neill last year, I was watching it thinking a lot of the players won't understand a fucking word of this because that's not how they play the game. And Aït-Nouri is one of those players. He's got to be playing as a wing back, as an effective wing back in a system on the counter attack. Whereas I don't think we play to his strengths whatsoever.
No. Mm-hmm. Any other questions that are worth reading out? Let me just have most of them. I'll sack him now. Why is his clown still here? How the fuck is he still in charge? How inept does the manager?
That's all just from my account as well.
Jordan Russell 1, Jordan Russell 2, Jordan Russell 3. To be honest, I don't think there's any Wolves fan who is Gary O'Neill who hasn't really hung the hat on him. I know Gully, who does the tactical analysis for us, he's still of the opinion that he would keep us up. But I think he's always banged the Gary O'Neill drum from the start. So I think apart from those who have kind of drank from the Gary O'Neill Kool-Aid, have now, I think in his heart of hearts, he'd probably say he's time to go, but I think pride plays a part in, and I'd be the same if I'd done analysis on a coach and I saw where, like, you know, the things that he saw, that maybe I would, but I just think it's deeper than numbers, and for me the eye test is enough to see that we are shite.
I think you are right, Matt. The general consensus is people who've backed him historically are probably a bit less conducive to criticism of him, and that's not just Gully. I think that there's 3 or 4 people.
There's a few.
And the fact that you can count them on one hand suggests something in itself. But I think sometimes people want to push that agenda. And to be fair to Gully can actually quantify it. That's the difference.
It wasn't me digging him out, but that was just an example of someone who has backed Gary O'Neill from the start and who is still
free Gully.
#free Gully, who's
congratulations, by the way. He's just had a child.
I was about to say that. He's just had Gabriella, the baby's name. Which I thought was pretty apt.
It's not actually his name for anyone listening.
It did make me laugh though, that did. Final question from Azza Football. Do you think Sam Johnson will be back in goal against Everton?
I have a feeling he will be, yeah.
As a football, is that Sahota's burner?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
My dad probably has it. Yeah.
Big aid.
No, I think he will be, yeah. And I think, again, going back to it, like, what if why have you brought him there? And again, I know it's a question we've asked a few times on this pod, but like, Sarr come in because he's been injured and ill, but run a form and win and get football games. They've stuck with Sarr. And again, I don't think he should have been dropped. I think he's been relatively good over the last 5 games. 2 brain farts, or 1.5 brain farts on the weekend, let's say, if we've been kind with him on the Dawson one. Johnson's got to play. Like, if I'm Johnson and I'm not playing Wednesday, I'm going, mate, what the fuck else? What have I got to do to get back in this team? That'd be, if you know, I think he'll be in.
I'd love to know what's actually gone on, because he's either been extremely unlucky and needs to start taking some echinacea and, you know, some ginger and turmeric shots in the morning, because he seems to come down with a lot of illnesses for someone who's a professional footballer. But it's obviously not an illness, is it? Something's gone on. I think it's very clear that something's gone on, and, you know, if that's not the case, then I'll stand corrected. But it's not. It hasn't got the feeling of something that's, you know, everyone's on the same page with it, does it?
No. And when we talk about man management, as one player that we left out, you know, we've signed a goalkeeper to replace Sarr. We've ended up with both of them, and he can't manage either. Neither of them probably want to be here. So,
but I could have told you before we'd even signed the contract that Sam Johnson's shite. He said he's a championship goalkeeper, and people said, "Oh no, that's harsh." He's a top level championship goalkeeper. He's not an upgrade on Jose Sarr. He does think some things better than Sarr, but what's the point in spending 10 million quid? I mean, we've done this to death, but it just looks like such a stupid transfer, a brain dead transfer, considering the situation that we were in. But yeah, well, we can cheer the fact. Like I said, we've done that argument to death. So I don't think he'll be back in net. I think it'll be Sarr still, personally. But we shall see. I think we should leave it there, lads.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a massive week. Therapy. Could be a massive week for the future of the club and its Premier League status. Just to close, what points return keeps his job, and what minimum points return loses his job? Between now and Christmas, or the next 2? The next 2, because we'll be podding on Tuesday after the West Ham game.
I think 3 keeps his job, but he needs a minimum of 4, probably 4 to 6. I don't think we'll win both games, but he needs a minimum of 4 points, really. So you think 2 draws and he could get sacked? Yeah, I think he needs to win at least one of them, for sure. I think if he loses Wednesday, there's a hell of a lot of pressure going on, obviously, onto Monday. I think he does keep his job past Everton, but it'll be a nasty, nasty place on social media if we lose on Wednesday. West Ham away, graveyard for Wolves managers. Yeah, literally, yeah.
I was going to say, where I said our record's good at Goodison, I don't think it's very good at the London Stadium, is it? I think we won the first season we come up, and then I think we've lost every game since there.
Probably really poor form there.
Yeah.
George,
I'll back him to get a result on Monday.
Yeah,
I think if he's going to get a win, it'll be tomorrow. Well, sorry, Wednesday, should I say?
so you think a win and a loss keeps his job?
Probably 3 points. Yeah, I think 3 points will keep him in a job. Yeah, I think if he doesn't win either of them,
he's gone.
He's gone. And if he's not gone, I've got no idea what the football club are doing.
Joe?
I'm at the point now where I think if we lost both games, I still don't think they'd sack him, which is worrying. I hope they do, but I think we need 4 points from them 2 games. Particularly with those 3 points, we need those 3 points against Everton just purely because of where we are and where they are in the table. So that'd be a really big 3 points to get, which we shouldn't be saying in December, but we are. And then if we manage to get a win on Wednesday, a point on Monday, I think going away there with our record there would be a good result.
Time to wrap it up, I think. Fuck me. It's a positive episode, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Joe, where can people find you should they wish to follow you? Peter Scout.
Yeah, Peter Scouting on X and Blue Sky at Concept Scouting. And on Instagram now, because I saw it, all of you are very active on there, so I thought I'd try and be as well if I can.
Yeah, I did get the follow request.
Yeah,
I followed you back.
Thanks for approving.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. It's my personal account, so I don't have anyone there new anyway now, so
That's nice.
I'm locked off. Dave, are you on private as well?
No, mate, I'm public.
He just can't help.
Remember we used to have these back in the day?
Keep
You were
himself
public.
out.
Yeah, at Dave has a party on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I did do a little TikTok of the game against Bournemouth, and in the end I thought, fuck it, I'm not uploading this. I don't want to put myself through. That's some great angles of the penalties as well. The bloke behind me was like, why is he fucking recording every Bournemouth penalty? So
Why don't you sell the footage to a Bournemouth fan channel?
yeah, could do. Yeah. Should really. But yeah, Dave has a party everywhere.
Jordan?
Yeah, Jord was 7 on X and Instagram, but I am private on Instagram, and I've been for a while actually.
George, you know on LinkedIn, obviously you are LinkedIn Ultra. Have you been playing the games Cross Climb and there's another category?
No.
Game? Have a go.
I've seen it. I
played
sort of feel
LinkedIn.
like, yeah, I sort of feel like LinkedIn. It's sort of losing its way a little bit now. Like, you know, I was a big advocate of LinkedIn, and I think, you know, it's been great to help grow my personal, professional brand, and also, you know, talk about the podcast on there and stuff. But yeah, you just see some guff on there now, don't you? It's almost becoming like a real inflated, like,
it's always been humble
Instagram and
brag.
Twitter. Yeah, like, you know, kids talking about the election when they're 3 years old, saying, "Oh, Trump's a bad." 5 reasons why Trump's bad for America. From my 3-year-old, just fuck off.
This is a very Jake Humphrey conversation. This is.
Yeah.
By the way, someone called Jord Russell last week. As it called him by the name Russell. I agree with what Russell said. I was like, yeah, I love that.
Oh yeah, Russ. No, it wasn't Russell. It was Russ, wasn't it?
Sorry,
Yeah,
Russ.
but you know, that's not bad, is it?
Never
not.
trust a man with two
Wanker,
first names.
Yeah.
So.
The thing that cracks me up the most is me, Joe, and Jord could do a video together, and without doubt, someone will comment.
Yeah.
Great podcast, Dave.
It's happened.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, it'll be good as well. I'd guarantee when this video goes up as well, I want to know timestamp how quickly it is until that guy puts gone out.
Gone out.
So
Oh, mate,
it's
he'll
going to
be
be
the
in
first.
about 20 seconds. I know.
He'll be the first.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Neil White.
It's consistent.
It's brilliant because
He's-
he'll put gone out and then about an hour later put thanks to the shout out, Dave.
Shout out,
Neil
Neil.
White.
Shout
Yeah,
out,
go on,
Neil.
Neil.
Yeah.
I think you know most like accounts, if they're first, will like comment first, whereas Wall fans now are. The chuck first out the window, it's gone out. They're putting the gone out flag in the ground. But yeah, a massive week for Wolves. We are talking Wolves across all social media platforms. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, and please do leave us a 5-star review if you've enjoyed it. If you're on YouTube, when I do this, I feel like Luke Bennett. Hi guys, I do send me these glasses. Thanks for everyone.
Get
You're not
out.
getting your Corey out on it. Yeah, you're not getting your Corey out though, are you, Matt?
Who knows? Hi guys, thanks for if you want to buy this,
Get out.
he sent me a text the other day actually with his new number.
Go on.
I bet he
Send it
did.
over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Matt, could you get him to reenact a video of how Jeff Shee would sack Gary O'Neill
If he's in his washing machine.
kitchen?
what would you do if you found Gary O'Neill winning a football game?
Gone out.
God. Oh, dearie me. Yeah, if you ever enjoyed it on YouTube, if you're new here, please subscribe. If not, please drop us a like. And until next time, I'm sure we'll be discussing some kind of decision. I would hope if we've lost both games. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all praying for 2 Wolves wins, so hopefully that's what we can go and get, because that's the thing that we all want the most. But yeah, until next time, try and enjoy your week. Try not to think about the football. Yeah, and up the Wolves.